How did the colonies turn out? Today we are diving into the stories of two countries that were once colonies but have taken dramatically different paths. On one side we have Singapore, modern thriving metropolis. On the other we have the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a country rich in natural resources but plagued by poverty and conflict. How did two former colonies end up with such contrasting destinies? Let's find out. Before we dive into our examples, let's quickly recap what colonialism was. Colonialism meant that European powers, from Britain to Belgium, controlled vast territories in Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world, often with little regard for the local populations. This control shaped the future of the countries that these colonizers eventually left behind. Let's start with Singapore. The story begins in 1819, when Sir Stamford Raffles, a British trader, saw enormous potential in this island. Raffles negotiated with the local sultan and convinced him to cede Singapore to the British. And just like that, a British trading port was established. From that moment on, Singapore experienced explosive growth. Its port, free trade policies, and openness to immigration did wonders. Within a few decades, Singapore became one of the most important trading hubs on the road between India and China. Chinese, Malays, Indians, and Europeans flocked to Singapore for work and trade. The island turned into the multicultural melting pot, and that was just the beginning. However, during World War II, Singapore faced one of the darkest chapters in its history. In 1942, it was occupied by the Japanese, and the city endured a brutal occupation. The British, who had once considered Singapore an impregnable fortress, were defeated, and the city fell into enemy hands. After the war, the British returned, but the world had changed. Singapore began to push for independence. In 1959, it achieved self-governance, and Lee Kuan Yew became its first prime minister. Then, on August 9, 1965, Singapore became a fully independent state. But independence brought serious challenges. Singapore had no natural resources, ethnic tensions, and an uncertain future. Yet, thanks to strong leadership, its strategic geographical position, and a focus on education and trade, it became one of the world's most important trading hubs. A key factor in Singapore's success was its first prime minister, Lee Kuan Yew, who implemented strict policies, invested in infrastructure and education, and created a strong legal and business environment. Singapore also embraced neutrality and openness to foreign investments. Now, let's move to the story of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Our journey begins in 19th century, when this land caught the attention of one of Europe's most powerful men, King Leopold II of Belgium. In 1885, Leopold became the personal owner of the Congo, which he named the Congo Free State. Yes, you heard it right, one man owned an entire country. But what followed was anything but freedom. Leopold II turned the Congo into his personal plantation, extracting rubber, ivory, and other natural wealth. This brutal regime was built on the forced labor of the local population, who were made to work in inhuman conditions. When they failed to meet quotas, they were punished with death or mutilation. Historians estimate that during Leopold's rule, 10 million people died. For the context, that's half of the Congo's population at that time. After an international scandal, the Congo was officially transferred to the Belgian state and renamed the Belgian Congo. Although conditions slightly improved, colonialism continued, along with the exploitation of the local people. The Belgian government continued to extract the country's mineral wealth, with profits flowing to Europe while the local population remained poor and uneducated. After World War II, a wave of decolonization spread across the world, and the Congo was no exception. In the 1950s, independence movement grew in the Congo, fueled by increasing discontent with Belgian rule. In 1960, the dream of independence became a reality. On June 30th, 1960, the Congo gained independence, and Patrice Lumumba, one of the leading figures in the independence movement, became the first prime minister of the newly formed Democratic Republic of the Congo. But instead of peace, chaos ensued. The country quickly descended into political conflict and civil war. The colonial legacy that the Congo inherited would have a heavy impact on its future. But why these two former colonies take such different paths? Singapore had the advantage of being small, with strong leadership and a focus on education and the rule of law. The Congo, on the other hand, suffered the consequences of brutal colonialism, the absence of strong institutions and political instability. When we look at indicators like GDP, per capita, education level or corruption rates, we see how much these factors differ. Building a stable, prosperous state requires not only resources, but also strong institutions, the rule of law, and investment in people. Colonialism left its mark on many countries, but how each country deals with this legacy varies. Singapore managed to make the most of what little it had, while the Congo is still grappling with the consequences of its past. However, the future is not set in stone. Every country has the potential to change its destiny. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe to our channel History School, and let us know in the comments what other topics you'd like us to cover.